something I wanted to start with was patience. Not your amazing whistling, but you could do it.
It's a great song,
Not
man.
bad. Bryce Young is 23 years old. Can we start by saying that? Can we start by...
Did you hear what they were saying at our old employer? Stephen A. was going off on him. This is maybe the biggest bust in NFL history. Blasphemous. He's a 23-year-old guy on a crappy team. Give the guy a break. It is sad, but it happens to all these young players. He's not the only one. We've seen it happen so many times. And you're starting to see it. I mean, not quite yet. I think you get a little more leeway, a little more time with the Caleb Williams, obviously. But you're seeing him scramble. He's got no protection, no offensive line. And with all these young quarterbacks,
his line is offensive.
It is offensive. It's grand opening, grand closing. Now, he'll get more of a shot for sure. But Bryce Young, you can't call it a day on this guy yet. At least I don't think so.
You know what part of the problem is?
That's part of the bust when you give up on him so quickly.
Part of the problemo, and this has happened to all of us, but I feel like especially Steve Covino, knowing you.
Oh, boy.
Have you ever gone out on a double date and the other guy is like Captain Romance and it makes you look weak?
It has happened, yeah. It's happened. I went out with this really rich guy one time. Remember? His name was Umberto. That's my classic story.
Yeah.
I went out with my girlfriend at the time, her sister, and her older rich boyfriend. And he was ordering all these expensive bottles of wine.
Such as Umberto.
Such as Umberto. The dude was reciting poetry at the table.
Wore a
Such
suit.
as Umberto.
You were wearing an Affliction t-shirt. He had a suit on.
He was ordering for everybody at the table. Such as Umberto. And everybody like was leaning in on every word he said, you know?
Go on, Umberto.
Lobster all around.
Talking about his recent trip to Barcelona. And you're like, all right, enough of this guy making me look bad here. And then when it came to the bill, he expected me to split everything that he was ordering. I was barely making any. I was getting paid in meatballs. This guy was a millionaire, and he was showing me up the whole time. Umberto.
Covino chimes in. I've been to the Jersey Shore.
Yeah. Yeah, but it happens, and you feel like the weak link. Yeah. You do. I get it.
My point is, you know who Umberto is? C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
C.J. Stroud.
He came in like what?
Is Umberto.
Yeah.
Because by coming in and making the playoffs, and now the Houston Texans, 2-0, undefeated, guys like Danny G and people that know their football are saying, maybe the Texans can make a run in the AFC. Meanwhile, Bryce Young is doing nothing.
Some people, it does take a minute. Some people get the luxury of learning from someone else, sitting back and relaxing and taking it all in, and then when they get their shot, they feel more comfortable. C.J. Stroud went in there, and he was running the system. He took great leadership. That's an exception. And they were saying that. Collinsworth was saying that about Caleb Williams this weekend, about he's not just out there making plays. He's out there being a quarterback, calling the shots. He's running the system. Like, he is the offense right now, and you got to give him credit for that. He just needs more protection. You know, some of these guys, you expect them to be like C.J. Stroud, but not everybody is C.J. Stroud. It takes longer for them to develop.
Is anyone else picturing Umberto looking like, I'm thinking Bobby Cannavale for some reason.
Umberto. He had
I was picturing the most interesting man alive.
Oh, like an older man. Oh,
he had this like Andy Garcia vibe about
That's
him,
what I'm thinking, yeah.
Such as Umberto.
Well,
and he was
did
ordering
he
things.
pull out a Cuban cigar with one of those cutters?
I didn't know what he was ordering. Like, it was just one of those. I was just outmatched. He was talking about his boat and his he summers here and there. Anyone that says they summer here and there with an Italian accent, you want to punch him in their
What is your name again?
In their face.
Oh, Covino.
Yeah, Covino.
Speaking of Covino, give me your top 3 red wines. Red wine?
Yeah.
I drink Natty Ice.
Did you tell him you summer in Reseda, California?
Exactly, right? So my point in saying this is you can't expect. I look, when you're throwing lots of money at people and it's a win now league, I get it. That's what your expectation is. But it's an unrealistic expectation to think that every young quarterback's going to come in there running the system, being the system, and having the wherewithal and understanding of an NFL quarterback the way C.J. Stroud has made it look really easy. It is pretty amazing to see what he's doing. Not every quarterback's going to do that.
Most scenarios,
Peyton Manning didn't do that.
Most scenarios are more like Bryce Young. If you want to go back, the year was 1998.
I knew you were going there.
I was in college, and I remember
I was graduating.
I remember this young stud out of Tennessee, Peyton Manning, and his rookie season, Covino. The Colts went 3-13, and he threw 28 league-leading interceptions. Now, the only thing about Peyton Manning is he came back year 2, honed in and focused, and I think people are not seeing that from Bryce Young, and they were thinking, all right, growing pains.
Yeah, but
not only your favorite show in the 80s.
Sometimes, again, they always say it, right? The NFL, welcome to the NFL. Everybody's moving a lot quicker. There's an adjustment period for some people. I hate to say this, but everybody develops differently. Everybody grows differently. Everybody learns differently. And that applies in the NFL as well. We're talking about really young men, like really, really young men. It might take him a minute, a season. And like I said, some people, like a Patrick Mahomes, had the luxury of learning on the job and taking it easy. They threw this guy into the deep waters and expected him to know everything. The fact that C.J. Stroud did it, that's a great point, Rich. Doesn't mean everybody could do it. He sort of ruined it for everybody.
You ever see how some kids learn to swim? They really do just throw them in.
Yeah, that's what Mexicans do at their family parties.
The other people got their swimmies on, taking lessons.
And they laugh at the little kids.
Danny G hit us up with a meme this morning, a little tweet meme from RG3. And it said, when you speak on Bryce Young, just remember this. And it was a picture of Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield side by side wearing that Carolina Panthers uniform, and it said, both are thriving. In fact, Baker Mayfield talked about this. They asked him about Bryce Young. Take a listen.
Quarterback's hard, especially for young guys when you're not surrounded with the pieces that you're not given the opportunity to have success. A lot of the time, guys have the talent, they might have the brains, but they don't have the right opportunity, the right fit. I mean, I'm sitting here right now in a way better fit than the other places I've been, and that's not to put other teams down, but it's a matter of the pieces around you, the coaches, and for Bryce, a guy that I can relate to this, finding that belief within yourself again, and he'll get it. His story's far, far from finished.
Props to RG3. Props to Mayfield and Darnold for making that happen. And what great stories to rally behind. You know, I'm slowly becoming a Baker Mayfield fan just because of what he went through and where he's gone and how far he's grown. You know, I like watching this dude now. He's legit. Darnold, we're seeing it in a different team, different system. We always say that, hey, maybe that applies to you in your real life. You know, you're not striving wherever you're at. Maybe a change of scenery works wonders.
I think Caleb Williams.
Also time, man, maturity, things like that, Rich.
I think Caleb is a great example if you want to step away from Bryce Young for a second, because going into the season.
I feel bad for the guy.
Going into the season, every expert, every network, it was a lock pretty much. Who's going to be your offensive rookie of the year? Well, Caleb Williams. There was talk he's going to take this Bears team to the playoffs in year 1. He's got the weapons, you know, Eberflus. You watched Hard Knocks. Everyone was way high on Caleb Williams. Now they're saying he's Trey Lance with nail polish. It's an adjustment. Caleb Williams, 2 weeks, and people are talking smack already.
And they're already talking about, are they going to trade Bryce Young? And trust us, we get it. They gave up a lot for the guy, so your expectations are high. But, again, be realistic. Put yourself in his 23-year-old cleats for a minute. Whatever it is that you do, sometimes you go into a new job, and, man, you just fit right in and everything flows. Hey, Rich, when you went into your first full-time job as a young man out of college, right? Didn't you feel like it was sort of hard to grasp certain things in the real world? I know it was for me. Maybe not for everybody, but for me it was. I remember I worked for, I'm not calling women out, but I worked for 2 women at the time, right? man, I feel like they were speaking a different language to me. They were using all this business office jargon I didn't know, right? They were talking down to me, yelling at me. They almost had me in tears because I wasn't able to comprehend everything. I was doing one thing, forgetting another because I'd never been in that type of position before. But you know what? Fast forward, hey, man, I got the hang of it. I got the swing of it. I didn't understand why I wasn't comprehending in the beginning, but it was all so new coming at me so fast. This guy's a young 23-year-old dude in the NFL. Some people grasp it. Some people have the protection to grasp it. Some people get out there and they're sort of lost. But eventually they get it. Mayfield.
Let me pull a Baker Mayfield for a second.
Sure.
The same way he said, I'm not talking bad about other teams I played for. I'm not talking about other places I worked in a bad way. But when we were at ESPN, and they were like, hey, guys, come on, the ESPN way, and here's this and that. It's not the fit we have here at Fox Sports Radio.
That's all you have to say.
Right? I mean, management,
all right,
coaching.
put it this way. They put us in position here to succeed, to strive, to feel comfortable, to be ourselves, right? Where there wasn't any doubt or confusion and that feeling of not being sure about what you're talking about or what you're doing. Man, I feel bad for this dude with all these expectations, all these pressures, and again, a crappy team behind him.
And even more pressure because Chicago's haul is not finished. Carolina's still on the hook for a 2025 second-round pick.